They will give you always the best rate.
They connect to Binance, HitBTC, LMAX, and Kraken.
What I like about SwissBorg is that they have an amazing app.
Pow wow, yo yippee, yay guys. It's power number 50 and I'm super excited to be with you guys today. We're gonna dive into a little introspective of myself, then talk about SwissBorg, our lovely community as well. What have we accomplished in this last 5 years? Understand where we're heading in the next 5 years too. As you guys know, my name is Cyrus. I'm the proud founder, and today the emotional founder, here to serve you. In this special moment of the year, it's always really good to look at yourself, looking yourself in a mirror, and try to understand, who you are, which path are you taking, which path are you leading to. And for this special time of the year, I really wanted to have this really good dialogue with you guys to really open the whole cards. Now that we're partners, I really want you to get more to know us, and we want more to know you, of course, as well. So this first few minutes, I'm going to talk a little bit by myself. For those who don't want, just fast forward to the next, and then we'll be talking about the community and SwissBorg and where we're heading in the next 5 years. And for this, so many people probably know today, I grew up in the US as a young kid, in New York, San Francisco as well. And I was born from a family of Persians and Swiss, a noble family. And we call ourselves the nouveau poor people, because you have the new rich and the new poor people, which is that when my family had to leave Iran, they lost everything. Their status, their wealth, their lands, their property, their financial assets, and went to the US. I got to live in this family, and I thought it was very interesting because they had a really good concept of what wealth meant, but I didn't really realize that. Then I immigrated in France, and I started to understanding the French way of doing things, right? The US one is very business focused, and it's this yes attitude and this way of, trying really to grow as a person, especially living in New York. The French one was more intellectual. It's the raison d'être. You really get that message very often in France, where people are not as active as other people, because usually what a French does extremely well is ask himself a lot of questions. It's a very intellectual way of doing things. And I studied in business school in France, and right after that, well, my only goal was to become wealthy. And by being wealthy, what I believed back then when I was 20, 22, 23, was to become rich, grow rich, those type of mindsets. And by doing that, I said the only best way to do so is back to connect to my roots in Switzerland and go into the wealth management game. I started my career working as a wealth manager, and it was a great experience at Julius Baer, a wonderful private bank here in Switzerland. And I liked it, but I didn't really understand per se how some of the wealth managers over there were not very technical. I really wanted to, as a youngster, understand the markets more itself than the wealth management experience. For me, wealth was essentially how to invest in the best way, how to take some risk, and essentially how to implement this risk, through a portfolio. A portfolio that didn't mean something to someone, but just had performances. Absolute return performances. And I was in 2007 when I started my career. I saw in 2007, starting 2008, one of the biggest crises, very similar, different one of what we just experienced in 2022, where essentially the market's just going south, right? Bleeding, the end of the bottle of crystal champagne was done. And I looked back then that in 2008, a lot of hedge funds were doing actually quite a good job. And even more, I looked at systematic funds such as CTAs, it's managed future funds, that essentially have portfolios that are done with technical analysis and that everything is automated, and it creates an investment mandate and it trades different futures based on pace data to analyze and anticipate future trends. And I looked at this in a very, very intense way. I thought this was the future, that this was the best thing. So now we fast forward to my career, 2010. I started working in different hedge funds. One was a CTA, which I really did like a lot, working for Fort LP. They're still under the game. Didn't do a very good year, this one. But overall, last 25 years, they've done especially a very, very, very good job. And I started working in the hedge funds and working with different hedge funds, and I really liked the fact that these professionals was all about absolute returns, that regardless of the markets, they would be able to go long, go short, have market neutral strategy, do some arbitrage, do some event driven, be able to do a lot of different ways to essentially perform in any market. So I said, okay, this is exactly what I want to do. And the more I got into this game, the less I really understood it, to be honest, because then I was like, well, you're just investing in passing money from a firm to another firm in order to subtract performances. And the more I was looking into this, the more I was talking to Anthony, our co-founder, and trying to realize, I'm saying, well, do you like your job? Because he did a very similar career. And he's like, yeah, well, there's something missing. So we traveled together, we went to Thailand, different places, and then we thought about doing a lot of different business models, how to essentially democratize finance. So we looked at crowdfunding. So this was super cool. We looked at robo-advisors. Look, that was amazing. We looked at copy trading. I thought that was super cool. So we're trying to look at all these different business models, and we're seeing that some of them talk to us and resonates, whereas the business, though, a little bit less. The community factor was really cool. The fact that everyone could get into investment, that we really liked it, but there was always something missing. And so he started to go into fintech and eventually got bought out from a different neobank and did his thing. While I was, was trying to scratch in a different way and build the first SwissBorg. For those who maybe not know this, in 2000, end of 15, 16, the first SwissBorg was like a cyborg advisor, I called it back then, which means is that it was able to create an investment mandate based on your profile. And this was not a B2C product, it was a B2B2C product, meaning that I built essentially a portfolio management software and order management system that would enable essentially people based on their risk, based on their profile, to create a really cool, customized type of hedge fund. And I thought that was the future. I talked many times about Anthony, and then he was about to leave his job. And the more and more I was thinking about doing this, I was saying there's still something missing. Because I'm helping banks, I'm helping asset managers, but I don't really directly have a touch with the community. And at the same time, I was doing a lot of different hackathons. I was doing a lot of different startup weekends, and as a participant, but as well as creating themselves, I was starting to forge like a really cool community in London and as well in Switzerland. I was like, oh, there's something here. Just I like it. I can't really understand what it is, but I really like it. In that same span of time, a little bit before, I got acquaintance to Bitcoin. I got acquaintance to send Bitcoin to my dad in Iran. I started to obviously really love the fact that the peer-to-peer culture, myself being like one of the biggest fan of Napster, of Emil, eDonkey, my brother and mine, we run multiple servers. We were downloading these things, sharing and really growing with the Pirate Bay, I would say, economy and all this peer-to-peer culture, not for fraudulent reasons, just more to essentially be able to create. Like we would do our own videos of breakdancing, exchange it with DJs around the world, and trying to really live this community-based thing. And that's the moment where I said to Anthony, I said, this is exactly how we should bring into finance. It's not only giving technology and products that are able to bring people into wealth management. That's only the tools. You need the voice, you need the spirit. You need something much greater than a platform to create an ecosystem, right? As you can see here, it's a great ecosystem because it's powered by light, it's powered by grass, it's powered by wind, it's powered by so these different, different energy, but it's powered as well by animals, it's powered by, people, human beings, and then ski activity and golf and all these different things that this beautiness and this safe place of Switzerland has been producing. And it's exactly what I think so came, is that combination of Napster and democratization of finance and pulled them together. And I remember, I think so, it was in I think so March 2017, I said to Anthony, I'm like, well, we thought about crowdfunding, we thought about robo-advisor, we thought about order management systems, we thought about a community and an ecosystem. This is what SwissBorg is. And he's like, oh, what do you mean? I'm like, we now have to start to continue the community gatherings, grow this thing, and do an ICO. And this is exactly that time where Anthony and myself, we clicked and we said, done. We validated a contract, a spiritual contract with him and myself, that we said, you know what? Whatever is going to happen, we're going to change the game. We got the vision. Now let's vehiculate it, let's grow the community, and try to make this happen. So we started doing this, a lot of different meetups around Switzerland, around US, around actually everywhere. We used to like gatherings everywhere. And then slowly but surely started to contact my brother and saying, Alex, I know you still don't believe in this Web3 vision, but let's, again, work on it a little bit. Let's try to explain, look what we've done when we were kids, how much time we spent on Napster and email and all of that, how much time we had federated into this, breakdancing world where we created so many different communities, we exchanged so many ways of communicating between ourselves, of teaching ourselves. If we did that same beautiful mindset, but with wealth management, that mission would be even bigger. Because today we know that wealthy people are getting wealthier, poorer people are getting poorer, and this might create a real antagonist society where only very few privileged people will control the world, centralize the power, and this could lead to misery on this planet. June, Alex is like, you know what, I'm on board, I love it, I'm going to create a team in Japan. And more than this and this and that, we started to just grow different teams in Toronto, the same thing with Marco, and so many people started gathering around and saying, you know what, Web3 is here. Web3 could happen, and we could eventually have the voice and as well the technology and products to bring this to action. Of course, it wasn't that easy. For those who all know me, I lost 12 kilos that actually suffer. Drink a lot of green tea too, but there was so much moment of stress, so much a moment of doubts from so many people. And the fact that we had to do the ICO in September, that was pushed back because of our counterparty that was not able to produce the platform. In October, the same thing. In November again. And I said that night, that Friday in early November, I said, you know what? That's not going to happen, Anthony. We're never going to do the ICO if we have to rely on the others. Never, never, ever realize and outsource technology and products to people. I picked up the phone, called one of these lovely people that I worked in the past with SwissBorg first version. I said, hey guys, I know this sounds crazy. We have 5 weeks to build an ICO platform. The guy's like, what do you mean by ICO platform? A crowdfunding platform, multi-chain, yes, multi-chain, 2017, because this was a word, that accepts fiats as well, that does onboarding with KYC and ML on-chain. The guys looked at me like, Cyrus, this takes 5 years. I'm like, you know what? I don't care. It's going to take 5 weeks. We assemble the team Saturday morning, and we go on a sprint, and we make it happen. ICO happens. The first few days is great. and then nothing. Just right now. The same video 5 years ago, which I did exactly here, for those who remember. It was a very happy face. But in my little voice, did I have doubts? Of course I had doubts. I had doubts the fact that we did something in the pre-ICO which went well, and then after, just no one committing. It was holidays, you know, whatever. Same Ethereum network was jammed with CryptoKitties, Bitcoin's going up, Ethereum's going up. You could find a lot of different excuses. It was just not happening. That's as clear it is. So we brought back to the whiteboard with Anthony, Alex, and other different people, and Jeremy, and really started to think, okay, how can we maximize the website? How can we break new channels of distribution? How can we bring in cool people to bring other cool people, and start doing a lot of referrals out of these different great communities together? And how can we bring the next 20,000 people to be part of SwissBorg? Because yes, back then only 4,000 or 5,000 people in the first 3 weeks came in. This reminds me a bit what's happening right now. But let's fast forward this. On the 31st, we launched a big campaign, and it happens, it works well. The second day, January 1st, bam, this time gets 1 million in. January 2nd, 3 million. 3rd, 6 million, 12 million. By January 7th, it was done. 52 million was in the bank. History never repeats itself, but it rhymes. Right now, we're at a very similar position where we know that we got something in the private sale. There's still a lot of checks that have not came in, that people have signed term sheet, but we're still waiting for their funds. We know that the public sale, you know, we're slightly at 7 million, which is still an amazing amount of number, over 8,000 partners, just crazy. But how do we get the next 20,000 people? What do we need? Is this referral thing with winning a really cool Tesla, branded SwissBorg? Is it more things that has to be done on the product side? Or is it just you guys? Can we count a little bit more on you in order to push people to start this referral, to start have a computing factor and an exponential growth within the SwissBorg partners? Is it the fact of giving $100 of USDC and making other people partners around the game changer and might be the best Christmas gift in the world? It's you to decide, of course, of that. But what I do know today is that 5 years ago, and these last 5 years, have really changed me. And I hope it really has changed you yourself as well. To understand this game of wealth management and to understand the mission to democratize wealth management by making it fun, by making it fair, and by making it community-centric. So what's going to happen in the next 5 years? It's a really good question. And with crypto and blockchain and Web3, it's always something extremely hard to pass on and to understand where we're heading. Because there's always, you know, politicians or banks or whatsoever that some of them love the technology and some of them hate the industry. And some of them actually do like the industry and some of them do like the technology as well. But what we do know is that technology always wins over. It's as easy as that. We as humans don't have really the choice to essentially bring software. I mean, to adapt to software. Software adapts to yourself eventually, right? Who wouldn't know that just with my phone and these and headphones, I'll be able right now just to run a YouTube channel 20 years ago, right? It would be impossible. I would like to have, you know, go on any TV channel, right? Now we're just able to talk through this and we think it's completely normal. And it goes same with every different industrial technology revolution or evolution. So mass adoption will happen. It will happen through multiple different ways. We know that the wave of 2017 has burned a lot of people. We know the wave of 22 has burned a lot of people. But we know that through all these different waves, so similar to the bubble of 2001, which was maybe partly in 2017, which was partly obviously here in 2022, that what doesn't kill itself, it makes it much stronger. As SwissBorg, we know the resilience. We know where we're heading. We know that even if there's mist behind there, if you climb up a little bit more of the mountains, which I'm going to do right after, the sun's going to come. And it looks like it's already coming here. So it's always hard to see when there's fog where to head. But if you listen to your heart, if you listen to your face, and you don't try to figure out to climb the highest mountain, but just start climbing, just climbing. And when you arrive at the highest peak to one mountain, well, then you go down and you go to the next one. And what we do know as well, with these hard times, right? We know that in the good times, it creates a lot of weak companies and a lot of weak people. But then these weak people or these weak companies create really hard times. And during these hard times, very often, it builds very, very resilient, strong people and strong companies. Then these strong people again and these strong, resilient companies, what they do though is they create another good times. And that cycle goes on and on and on. For you listening, if you're here since 2017, you are very, very strong. If you remember, you went through that, that 1920, and then 2021 get great again, right? 22, 23 might be difficult, then 24, 25 might be great again. I'm not sure about these numbers of these years, but you see these cycles going up and down, the head and shoulders, right? So what I would love to see at SwissBorg going more and more is how we could grow, of course, as a community, going from the 700,000 to the next 7 million. That's something really I would love to see. What I would love to see as well is how we could continue to offer the best products and services. How these different layers could really scale, really scale and bring better products, better services. What I would love to see is different ways how to essentially be able to finally be master of your data and start to really monetize your data through SwissBorg, but through the whole Web3 ecosystem. What I would love to see is more and more ways to co-create very special opportunities on the layer 5 with different amazing communities that could finally transform themselves for users, investors. And eventually what I would love to see is that anyone just could press 2 or 3 buttons, understand who she is, where he is, and get a mandate, a smart mandate that could be fully automated or partially automated, that really could suffice anyone. That crazy dream we had back in 2014, 15, and we tried to do it. I know it takes time. I know you need to scale and you need to really climb these different layers, but that's exactly what I want to see. And that's why I'm very, very optimistic about the future. I'm very optimistic about the fact that social media is going to go through a tsunami of evolution and how people will all finally be fairly rewarded. Last night I was watching Spotify, and for those who know me, I never really was a big fan of Daniel, the founder. And because he's in the same generation, we're the same year. We did similar things, I would say, in a different scale, in a different industry. But what I always saw at Spotify for me was the fact that Spotify never embraced a real Web3 vision. It's extremely amazing Web2 music industry. But when you look at the show, you understand that he had that Web3. He had it all. It's just that the time with lawyers, with the music industry, he got to get a little bit attached to a different business model that's not servicing most music artists. It's only servicing the very few that are already extremely, extremely popular. And they're playing a game to really monetize the app themselves, but especially really giving back all the money to the albums, and not to the albums, but to the really big Sony and Universal and all these big music studios. But that's what it was. I think so the next step, we're going to see more and more platforms that are going to give the real power to the users, decide the faith of how to essentially monetize the authors, the content creators. And this evolution, if it's going to be done by, by Twitter or it's going to be by Lens, we're going to see so much new things going to be created. Same for video games, same for a lot of different things that talk more to people than DeFi. And I think so with SwissBorg, we're extremely well positioned in the Web3 gaming and esports as well. I think so be invested with LimeWire, we're very good position into the music industry, cross of the ages and all of these really game-changing thoughts. And I love the fact that SwissBorg, we're able to tap into all of this different industry to really unlock the value, to the power to the community, to finally give it back to you guys, our loved, beloved community. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this year. I know it's been a crazy ride. The first semester with the fall of all our competitors has been a big shock to the market, has created a lot of doubts. And I can understand people around you today saying like, I told you, SwissBorg token now is on at 22 cents. But those who participated in the ICO already now at 3 times the value. People that have believed in us and continue to believe us will probably see the nice cycles. Because don't forget, bad markets create strong people. Those strong people create great markets again and benefit from it. So with always, guys, please take in mind to have faith, not just to build hope, but to have faith in what you feel that is important, what you feel that matters, how you want to contribute to this planet. 10 years from now, 20 years from now, 30 years from now, remind yourself that you were courageous enough to make that step, start to get into the game, start to invest, starting to bring something to the community, starting to stand out, vote, start to build, start to refer people, start to become partner at SwissBorg and refer more people to do so. Because at the end, this is what the most beautiful thing is that we, as a human being, could control your future, could control your wealth. And regaining control of your wealth is one of the biggest steps for a human being to become wealthy, to become healthy, to lower CHSV, and of course, now our equity. Take care, guys. Have happy days. I hope you have a great New Year's Eve, and I'm looking forward to have a fantastic 2023. Much love. As mentioned earlier, guys, step by step, even if they're clouds, even if they're the mists, you'll get above the clouds eventually and get to enjoy the beautiful view. Take care, guys.
Whether you want to buy 100 Bitcoins or 10 euros, you can always get the best price execution.